Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am AmalgamAsh, and today I wanted to share the update release notes for version 1.0.5 of rpginabox. This was actually an update pushed out 10/20, so I am several days late. However, I still wanted to communicate these different feature updates as well as bug fixes. So this is straight from Justin, the developer of rpginabox, and we'll just read the notes verbatim. Release notes for version 1.0.5. Added top-down orthogonal camera mode to the map editor for easier 2D and overhead map creation, located next to the isometric camera button. This means that you will be able to more easily create your just straight, flat-out, that's not a pun, 2D maps. A top-down orthogonal camera means that the camera won't perceive changes in depth perspectively. This is going to make making some of the maps easier, even if you're going to make a 3D game, because I find it easier to draw the tiles out and then rotate the camera whenever I get ready to check out the scene that I made in 3D. So that's really cool. Really, really good update. Added panorama sky background option to the map properties panel of the map editor. The image needs to be an equirectangular sky map. I think this image teased on the Discord might have something to do with that. We are looking at a beautiful skybox for this rpginabox voxel world. I don't know about you, but I think that this sort of thing is beautiful. I think the way that the high definition image of the non-voxel clouds and moon, or maybe they could be voxel, we're just so far away we can't perceive that with the naked eye, sort of contrasts with the blocky world down below. I love everything about that. I especially love that I can see through the window of this house and what looks like into and through the next window on the opposite side and see the sky there. The whole scene just has a real sense of presence. This is a great screenshot. Sorry, let's move on. Added new option to the reaction to obstacle NPC behavior setting for running a custom script upon encountering an obstacle. Now you can make your NPCs trip over rocks or, go to a node and mine it for resources, things like that. Added ability to control pushable objects using the mouse by clicking on a valid tile in front of the object or behind the player character. So I believe that means we would be able to click in order to get your player to push a pushable object or drag it backwards onto the tile that you clicked behind the player. Added ability to release a pushable object currently held by the player character by clicking on it, in addition to the G key. So the player character can now grab an object and also release it. That way you can be standing next to it and interact with other things instead of grabbing it and having control in that context. Added object is grabbed and object is released global event scripts. Self contains object, initiator contains character. This means that these scripts can run whenever the engine tracks your character grabbing an object or releasing it. You could set up, say, and this is a very simple example, a message that says, grabbed large boulder, or let go of large boulder. Just a little bit of additional UI, UX experience there. Added object is pushed global event script. Self contains object, initiator contains character, tiles are stored in previous tile and target tile variables. You could use this now to push a rock across mud and have the tile change to that of one that has a track reflecting that a rock has been pushed through it. I think that you could probably already do that, actually. This means that you would be able to customize the event whenever your character pushes an object. I'm interested to know exactly what people would use the tiles that are being stored in the variables for. My mind goes to tiles that you could then define that have the appearance that reflect that a boulder or something was pushed over it. That's the first thing that I think of. Maybe that's something that's already possible, though. Added ability to scale objects and characters being placed into a map. Holding shift and using the scroll wheel scales by 0.05. Holding control and using the scroll wheel scales by 0.1. This is an awesome feature. Now you can take your object and put it on the map at a different scale than the other objects. If it's one thing that I would ask Justin personally, it is also give us the ability to ever so slightly rotate in degrees that object as well. We've got that functionality. Everything can be placed down and randomly placed at a 90, 180, or 270 degree angle, or 0/360 degree angle. And that works very well. So you can take your rock model and then sprinkle it all over your map, and you have these rocks that are not uniform at all because they've been randomly placed, and now it looks a lot more natural. It doesn't look like a bunch of tiles that are sat down. That's okay, but for some people, they don't want that effect. Now, in addition to that, we can actually change the scale. And we still have the ability to place these things down at random angles in 90-degree increments. So combined with that, it is still pretty powerful to set this stuff down and now have these very different looking maps that are just using one or two different objects. Awesome one. That's my favorite one. I love that one. Added copy settings and paste settings buttons to the model properties panel for copying the offset, scale, rotation values between attach points. Very useful. Added ability to separately scale the X, Y, and Z values of attach points in the voxel editor from the model's property panel. Also very useful. Added setting to the widget properties panel which, when enabled, will pass mouse input through areas of the widget not occupied by elements. Added onClose script setting to the widget properties panel that gets triggered when the widget's X close button is pressed. Self contains widget. I believe that means if you create a widget and you have the player close it, you can now specify what kind of event will happen when that close occurs specifically. Added UI scale option to the editor settings dialog so that the interface can be scaled for high DPI displays. Thank you. As a person who uses 4K, that's not a flex. That's just I have the monitor and I have to have it in 4K to be able to use my editor and stuff the way that I want. It is incredible to have UI where I can actually scale it and see it. There's a few programs that don't have this at all. They pretty much count on you to have a 1080p resolution, and a lot of people have it, and that's a fine expectation to have, and I'm not complaining at all. But it does make it more troublesome for me to use those programs. So I appreciate being able to scale things up. Hopefully it does scale up for me. Added free movement experimental setting to the game configuration dialog. Only basic movement and interaction supported. Full gameplay not yet possible. So I'm wondering what the scale of that is right now and why the disclaimer of full gameplay. I guess that means that basic movement and interaction is supported, but not anything else that you could possibly implement currently using the tile-based movement system. Probably things like how many tiles have you walked on, or event per tile, things like that maybe. Maybe the raycasting feature that allows you to be able to shoot things. That's great to have it in here as an experimental setting. I'm a big fan of things being added to engines that are in beta or experimental phase because it allows the users to be able to try it out anyway. And not only are they getting an early start in learning how to use that feature, but they are also able to kind of break it in ways that the developer didn't think of or didn't have time to test out different use cases. And they can report that stuff to the developer, bringing issues to the developer's attention early on before the developer gets so far into completing that feature that it becomes more time consuming to go back and iron those issues out. Awesome job, Justin. Increased maximum in-game zoom distance to 300, adjustable from the gameplay section of the game configuration dialog. Always great to be able to give more power to the player. Updated the eyedropper tool in the map editor, Alt plus left click, to also get the scale of the selected object or character. Nice. Okay. Updated predefined animation names dialog in the voxel editor to include directional animation names, idle north, walk north, etc. Good. Updated character animation functionality to auto-trigger corresponding walk, idle, attack animations on any attached objects when played. Good. Although reading that, I would think that was something already there, but it's good that it's there if it's what I'm thinking of. Updated about dialogue to include credit to Andy Sphinx for the Box of Colors default voxel editor palette. Fixed several in-game issues with the pushable object functionality when used with the first-person camera. Fixed issue with the player being able to release a pushable object in the middle of two tiles while pushing it. Fixed issue with default scale not being properly applied when the player character was configured as a billboard sprite. Fixed issue with characters configured as two-dimensional being incorrectly rotated upon reacting to an obstacle via behavior setting. Fixed issue with holding control and middle mouse button and dragging up-down to zoom not working properly in the map editor when isometric camera was enabled. Fixed issue with voxel editor being marked as having changes when pressing escape to deselect all selected voxels. Fixed issue where request coordinate and request entity scripting functions could be triggered even when one was already being requested. Fixed issue where the type built-in property was not being accepted as a valid syntax when used with a variable. For example, myEntity.type. Fixed issue with using compound operators, such as increment, decrement, etc., to modify stat values via scripts not working correctly, literal value would be assigned to the stat. Fixed error that could occur when using capture to image in the voxel editor, then later switching to the mesh preview mode. And documentation updated the map editor built-in docs to include info about additional camera controls, holding C and moving mouse to the edge of view. This is a fantastic update. Very, very good job, Justin. I appreciate the hard work that this developer puts into this engine. rpginabox is an engine that is huge. I have really tried to make time to play with the engine myself, and I've been able to make some time to do it, but it's been extremely busy on the channel, and I haven't been able to give the time to it that I really, really want to give. That will still happen, and we will still be covering rpginabox particulars, details, tutorials, and the like right here on the channel. But for now, you can check out the rpginabox YouTube channel where Stumpy the Squirrel will actually teach you how to make a game using rpginabox. I love Stumpy. They're already up to episode 6 right now with this series, and this will appeal to learners of a different type than those who benefit a lot from Sarah's fantastic tutorial videos. Approaching things like this from a different angle is something that I believe strongly in, otherwise we wouldn't have multiple tutorials from different creators and the like. There are different learning styles out there, and it's important for people to jump on board and try to teach these things using different perspectives. So I can always simultaneously support Stumpy the Squirrel and Sarah making tutorials for rpginabox, as well as any other creators out there who want to do so, regardless of whether the subject has already been covered. You never know when you'll hit that target audience that just wasn't able to get it for whatever reason, and completely click with them. Tone, style, and pace, people. Tone, style, and pace. There's an educator in all of us. All right, that's it. Go check out Stumpy the Squirrel, and stay tuned for, at some point, I promise, more rpginabox content right here on the channel. I've been AmalgamAsh. Most of the people who watch my videos don't subscribe. Please consider subscribing. I cover lots of engines and lots of mixed gaming, fantasy-related sword, sorcery, tutorial-type combat, content. Wow, we'll leave that one in, and I support my fellow content creators, so have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.